Ladies and gentlemen, hear me loud and clear. You are not waiting on a breakthrough. Your breakthrough is waiting on you. You've been watching everybody else win, scrolling, clicking, liking, wishing, comparing. But today, I came to remind you of one undeniable truth. Your future is not out there, it's in here. You are not waiting on a new opportunity. You are not waiting on someone to give you a shot, a break, or a miracle. The truth is, your breakthrough has been waiting on you. Not the distracted, half-committed, excuse-making version of you. No, the focused, disciplined, dialed-in version. The one who stops blaming circumstances and starts taking full responsibility. That's the version of you that unlocks doors. That's the version of you that starts walking in power. But it doesn't happen until you make a decision to shift all that attention you've been giving to everything outside of you and start turning it inward. Most people live their entire lives thinking their problems are external. They think the job is the problem, the boss, the market, the partner, the environment. But if you change locations without changing yourself, you just take the same chaos into a different space. That's why breakthrough never lasts for people who haven't done the inner work. You can't sustain external success with internal disorder. When you focus on yourself, you begin to clean up the patterns, the beliefs, the habits that have quietly been sabotaging your growth all along. Self-focus isn't selfish, it's sacred. It's the most powerful investment you can ever make. When you give yourself the gift of attention, something shifts. You begin to see where you've been making decisions out of fear instead of faith. You notice how much time you wasted seeking approval instead of building confidence. You realize that the gap between where you are and where you want to be is not as wide as you thought. It's just clouded by distraction. Distraction from people, from noise, from negativity. And once you clear all that out, the path forward gets clear too. A focused person sees opportunity where a distracted person sees obstacles. When your mind is anchored in purpose, little things don't knock you off course anymore. Petty opinions, temporary setbacks, or unexpected delays don't derail you because your eyes are fixed on something greater. The noise around you gets quieter because the voice within you gets louder. That's the power of self-focus. It builds inner strength, and inner strength leads to outer results. But this kind of focus doesn't come by accident. It's a choice. It's waking up and deciding that your peace matters more than other people's drama, that your goals matter more than your excuses, that your time is valuable and your energy is sacred. It's not about being perfect, it's about being intentional. Intentional about what you consume, what you entertain, and who you allow access to your mind and your space, because what surrounds you will eventually shape you. The more you focus on yourself, the more you begin to separate what's urgent from what's important. You stop rushing to fix temporary fires and start building lasting foundations. You stop giving your best energy to things that don't align with your destiny. You recognize that every yes you give someone else is a no you're giving to your own calling. And you stop giving away pieces of yourself to things that drain you. You begin to notice growth in areas you didn't even know were broken. You start healing. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop chasing validation and start living with conviction. You develop clarity, and with that clarity comes confidence. The kind of confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. It just walks in the room and sets the temperature. You also begin to notice who belongs in your life and who doesn't. Because when you focus on your growth, it naturally exposes who's been stunting it. You outgrow conversations. You outgrow distractions. You outgrow environments. And instead of forcing things to fit, you learn to let go with grace and trust that what's meant for your next season will meet you on the path of alignment. Self-focus also births self-trust. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop asking everyone else for permission to move forward. You start moving like you're called, like you're chosen, like you're prepared. And that mindset changes everything. It changes how you walk into rooms. It changes how you deal with setbacks. It changes how you bounce back after failure, because you know who you are, not because someone told you, but because you discovered it for yourself through focused growth. And over time, that internal work starts to manifest in the physical world. People start to notice. Doors start to open. Opportunities start showing up. But they didn't come because you chased them. They came because you became the kind of person who could receive them. That's what real breakthrough is. Not something you find, but something you unlock when you finally stop looking everywhere else and start looking within. What you focus on, you attract, not just in theory, but in truth, in law, and in reality. Focus is a magnet. It draws into your life whatever dominates your mind, your conversations, your imagination, and your energy. The problem is most people are focused on what they don't want. They obsess over what's going wrong, who hurt them, what they lack, and what could go wrong next. Then they wonder why negativity multiplies in their life. But the truth is simple. You can't focus on fear and expect to walk in favor. You can't meditate on loss and expect to live in abundance. The mind is like soil. It doesn't care what kind of seed you plant. It will grow whatever you continue to water. If you focus on doubt, it will grow insecurity. If you focus on stress, it will grow anxiety. If you focus on offense, it will grow bitterness. But if you focus on discipline, it will grow consistency. If you focus on purpose, it will grow power. If you focus on gratitude, it will grow joy. The harvest of your life is always the result of the seeds of your focus. You don't attract success by chasing it. You attract it by aligning with it. When you focus on becoming a person of value, success starts looking for you. That's why some people seem to coincidentally find themselves in the right place at the right time, but it's never coincidence. It's clarity. It's alignment. It's the law of attraction in action. You became the kind of person that opportunities recognize. And that only happens when you make the decision to focus your life around your values, your vision, and your divine assignment. Focus is not passive, it's active. It's something you have to fight for daily in a world full of distractions, diversions, and deception. Every scroll, every notification, every crisis the media shoves in your face is designed to take your attention away from what really matters. And if you give your focus away cheaply, you'll find yourself attracting chaos that has nothing to do with your calling. You can't afford to be casual with your attention. Your attention is currency. Spend it wisely. When you decide to focus on growth, your environment begins to change. You stop tolerating conversations that waste your time. You stop engaging in cycles that keep you stuck. You begin to attract people who sharpen you, challenge you, and elevate your standards. That's not because they randomly showed up. It's because your focus created a new frequency. And when you operate at a higher frequency, low-level distractions can't reach you the same way they used to. Your energy flows where your focus goes. If you wake up focusing on problems, you'll find more problems throughout the day. If you wake up focusing on possibilities, you'll notice more solutions. The brain is trained to look for evidence of whatever you believe. It filters reality through the lens of your dominant thoughts. So when you focus on favor, you start seeing blessings in things that used to look like burdens. When you focus on opportunity, you begin to find lessons in what used to feel like loss. You become more of whatever you give your focus to. If you constantly focus on what other people think, you become insecure. If you constantly focus on what you haven't achieved yet, you become anxious. But if you shift your focus to progress, to how far you've come, to what you've learned, to the steps you're taking, you develop momentum. And momentum breeds confidence. You start showing up differently. You speak with more clarity. You lead with more conviction. And the world responds accordingly. The external world mirrors your internal focus. If you focus on excellence, you attract excellence. If you focus on integrity, you attract trustworthy people. If you focus on love, you attract connection. Life becomes a reflection of what you consistently give your mind to. And this isn't just mindset talk, it's spiritual law. It's a divine principle. It's been written for generations that as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Your life is simply catching up to the direction your focus has been pointing toward all along. When you focus on what's broken, you remain in a state of repair. But when you focus on what's possible, you start moving toward restoration. That doesn't mean you ignore problems. It means you stop giving them all your power. You shift your focus from being problem-oriented to being solution-driven. And when your focus shifts, your emotional state shifts. Your creativity unlocks. Your vision expands. Your resilience increases because now, instead of living in reaction, you're living with intention. The most dangerous thing about misplaced focus is that it feels productive. Worry feels like preparation. Obsession with the past feels like reflection. But the only real power is in what you choose to give your attention to right now. Every day is a blank canvas. And focus is your paintbrush. Are you painting a picture of fear, doubt, and confusion? Or are you painting one of faith, discipline, and direction? Because whatever you focus on long enough will eventually manifest, not just around you, but through you. Mastering yourself is not about controlling everything. It's about becoming deeply aware of who you are, what drives you, what holds you back, and how to rise above the noise. The world teaches us to chase alignment by rearranging everything around us, our job, our circle, our environment. But true alignment doesn't start on the outside. It starts when you get your mind, your emotions, your habits, and your spirit under discipline. When the inner world is in order, the outer world begins to reflect that order. Most people are out of alignment not because they lack potential, but because they've allowed their feelings to drive their future. Emotions are real, but they're not reliable. Mastery is learning to feel everything but not be led by everything. It's standing firm when your emotions are telling you to fold. It's choosing purpose when your mood wants to choose comfort. Mastering yourself means recognizing that feelings are indicators, not leaders. And the moment you understand that, your life starts moving in the direction of stability, not confusion. You can't be in alignment with your purpose while you're at war with your discipline. You say you want peace, but your habits scream chaos. You want success, but your routines scream inconsistency. Alignment happens when what you say, what you believe, and how you behave all match. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you begin to take command of yourself, your thoughts, your focus, your language, your standards. It's in the mastery of those small internal battles that massive external shifts are made. When you master yourself, you no longer live at the mercy of your environment. You don't shrink when pressure comes. You rise. Why? Because you've trained yourself to respond with intention, not reaction. Mastery is the ability to hold your ground when chaos tries to pull you off center. It's the quiet strength of someone who doesn't need to prove anything because they've already proven it to themselves in private. The battles people don't see, the early mornings, the lonely nights, the painful decisions are the very things that build the foundation for alignment. Alignment doesn't mean life is always easy. It means you're walking in flow, where decisions make sense, relationships feel purposeful, and your steps are directed. But you can't walk in flow when you're always second-guessing yourself, comparing your journey, or being pulled in 10 directions. Self-mastery brings clarity. Clarity brings alignment, and alignment produces results, not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger, sharper, and more rooted in who you are and what you're called to do. So when you begin mastering yourself, your values become non-negotiable. You don't compromise your integrity for convenience. You don't bend your standards to keep company. You stop entertaining what doesn't align, not because you're arrogant, but because you're focused. The more you master yourself, the less tolerance you have for things that waste your time, drain your energy, or pull you away from your vision. And that kind of clarity doesn't repel opportunity, it attracts it. Alignment attracts what distraction keeps away. There's a version of you that only emerges when you stop living by default and start living by design. That version isn't ruled by impulses or controlled by other people's expectations. It's a version forged in discipline, in faith, and in identity. Mastery teaches you how to say no with confidence and yes with conviction. It teaches you how to wait with wisdom instead of panicking with impatience. You stop looking for signs and start walking with certainty, because alignment brings assurance that no external validation can match. The work of mastery is not glamorous. It's quiet, it's repetitive, it's in the choices no one applauds, it's in the private sacrifices that don't get posted. But that's where the power is built. That's where alignment is formed, not in public displays, but in private disciplines. When you master your time, your words, your appetite, and your attention, you become the kind of person who lives in alignment without effort, because effort has already been sown in the secret place. Mastery doesn't eliminate struggle, it reframes it. You stop seeing obstacles as interruptions and start seeing them as instructions. Every challenge becomes a mirror that reveals something about yourself, and with every revelation, you grow, you rise, you adjust, you move forward, not just with knowledge, but with wisdom. That's the mark of someone in alignment. They don't just move fast, they move right, because they know who they are, they know where they're going, and they don't waste time on paths that don't match their purpose. To master yourself is to stop waiting for the world to get in order and start putting yourself in order. It's choosing to become the thermostat, not the thermometer. It's deciding that you will not be swayed by everything that moves around you, because you are grounded in something greater within you. That grounding creates alignment. That alignment attracts peace, opportunity, clarity, and power. Not because you manipulated your surroundings, but because you finally mastered the only thing you ever had control over. You are your greatest project. Not your business, not your bank account, not your brand, not even your vision board. You, the person in the mirror, is the foundation of everything you build, everything you attract, and everything you sustain. You can't outgrow yourself. You can't outperform the limitations you refuse to confront. The time, energy, and money you invest in becoming stronger, wiser, clearer, and more disciplined will never return void. Because when you build you, everything else starts to grow from that place of strength. The reason so many people are stuck is because they're trying to upgrade their circumstances while neglecting to upgrade their character. They want high-level results with low-level discipline. They want people to treat them with respect, but they haven't learned how to respect their own time, their own goals, or their own peace. They want opportunities, but they aren't developing the consistency to keep those opportunities once they arrive. That's why personal development isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. You are either building yourself or breaking yourself down with neglect. You are not broken beyond repair. You are unfinished. And that's a powerful place to be. Because when you see yourself as a project, you give yourself permission to grow. You stop chasing perfection and start pursuing progress. You stop judging yourself for where you are and start focusing on who you're becoming. There's power in knowing you can change. You can sharpen your mind, you can shift your habits, you can heal your heart, and you can rise above the version of yourself that once settled for less. Working on yourself doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means something is right with you. It means you care enough about your future to stop coasting. It means you've decided to become intentional with your life. Most people drift. They live reactive lives, bouncing from one distraction to the next. But when you start seeing yourself as a project worth building, you stop drifting and start designing. You start waking up with purpose, thinking with clarity, and moving with a sense of destiny. There is nothing more powerful than a person who has done the internal work, a person who knows their triggers and refuses to be led by them, a person who has confronted their trauma and refused to pass it down, a person who has trained their mind to focus, trained their body to endure, and trained their spirit to lead. That kind of person doesn't just walk into a room, they shift the atmosphere. And that kind of presence isn't accidental. It's the product of relentless inner work. When you are your greatest project, you stop outsourcing your identity. You don't wait for people to affirm you, you affirm yourself. You don't need applause to feel worthy, you know your value in silence. You stop performing for approval and start moving from a place of conviction. That kind of confidence can't be bought, it can't be faked, it's forged in the furnace of self-development. It's built in the days when no one is watching, but you still show up anyway. You don't need to have it all figured out to start. You just need to start with what you know, that you are not finished and you are not powerless. You can wake up earlier. You can learn something new. You can unlearn the lies you've believed. You can forgive. You can choose discipline over distraction. You can speak life over yourself. These small acts of self-investment might not look impressive at first, but they compound into transformation over time. Every rep, every choice, every sacrifice is laying a brick in the foundation of who you're becoming. But there will be seasons where the only thing you can build is yourself. The relationship might not work, the business might not grow, the doors might not open yet. But in those seasons, your greatest return on investment is in becoming sharper, stronger, and wiser. Because when the opportunity does show up, it won't stay unless you're ready. And being ready isn't about hype, it's about depth. Depth of character, depth of wisdom, depth of self-control. That's what determines whether success stays or slips away. Nobody else is responsible for building you. Not your parents, not your partner, not your friends, and not your mentors. They can support you, but they can't construct you. That's your job. And it's the most important one you'll ever have, because when you grow, everything connected to you grows. Your vision gets clearer. Your relationships get healthier. Your decisions get wiser. Your influence gets stronger. You don't just elevate yourself, you become a catalyst for others to do the same. The project of you is lifelong. There's no final version, just levels. And with every level comes new challenges, new responsibilities, and new rewards. But the tools you build at one level carry you through the next. That's why every moment you choose growth, every time you do the hard thing, every time you turn down comfort to pursue purpose, you are building something no one can take from you. You are becoming the kind of person that results, blessings, and breakthroughs are drawn to. Not because you chase them, but because you became ready.